So that was the game of golden balls. Here's the diagram that illustrates what was actually going on. See Sarah and Steve again. It's not high price, low price. It's split the pot versus steal. They both have that choice to make. If they split, they get 50-50, just as in the game. If one steals and one splits, one person gets all of it, the other person gets none, and vice versa. In this case, you can see the strong dynamics, the strong temptation, if you like, to break the deal, to break the split, and to steal. In this case, Sarah gets the whole thing, then maybe the next time they play, Steve will get the whole thing, or maybe they'll both get nothing, which would happen if they both steal. So there are very heavy pressures, and the same kind of thing can happen in firms as well. That's the nature of the strategic interaction. If you like, the implication of this for duopoly is there's going to be some forces driving towards competition, the forces driving towards the zero economic profits, and in this case, where they both effectively steal based on the language of the golden balls game, which for us, in this case, is a decision to charge the lower price. Now, you can think about what there may be out there to prevent this non-cooperative situation where there's both stealing or they're both charging the competitive price. One is that their games can be repeated, so the impact of a repeated game. So imagine that Steve and Sarah are going to play that same game night after night after night. Well, it's pretty clear eventually they're going to gravitate to the split decision. They'll just keep splitting because they're going to get a lot more than if they just do steal all the time. And you're going to try to, if you like, match what the other does. This is sometimes called tit-for-tat strategy, and the idea is that if you try to do a split, the other person follows with a split. If you do a steal, the other person follows with a steal, and you know that that's going to happen. And so over time, you gravitate towards the strategy where they both split or they both charge the high monopolist prices. So that idea of repeated game or tit-for-tat, where you match the move from the previous game, is a way to generate the cooperative equilibrium in the game, which of course is not so great for consumers in the case of duopoly. You always have to watch out for someone pulling out like Sarah. There's still a temptation to get it. But this is an example where this reputation can help get us to a more cooperative solution. And there are other ways too. There can be ways in which informally the firms can collude and stick to a strategy. And I want to illustrate that in the rest of this lesson with a very interesting example that occurred in 2013 in the summer. In this case, it was a case in the courts about some booksellers who were putting ebooks onto the new Apple product called iPad. The iPad was launched in 2011, and about that same time, the price of ebooks jumped substantially. And here's a picture of that price jump. So this is a very interesting empirical observation. You can see prices on Amazon, these are the Kindle product, for different book publishers, which are shown over on the right with the different colors. And you can see soon after the introduction of the iPad, the prices jumped considerably for these books. That's really an amazing, if you like, coincidence or something that had to do with the launch of Apple. And what the Justice Department felt, and they took this case to courts, that the iPad and the Apple decision to go into the iPad and bring publishers was kind of a coordinating device, a cooperative device, which enabled the booksellers to charge higher prices together, if you like. It wouldn't really be colluding, but it would be it's like colluding. It's coordinated through this decision of Apple. And the judge actually ruled in favor of the Department of Justice, in favor of the government against Apple, in the decisions made in the summer of 2013. And the judge in the case looked at a lot of evidence. It's very interesting evidence to see how these things might work. And one piece of evidence had to do with the press conference that was conducted when the iPad was launched in early 2011. Steve Jobs, who was then running Apple, was part of that launch. And when he was asked by a reporter, and I'll just read this, when he was asked by a reporter later that day why people would pay $14.99 in the iBook store to purchase an e-book that was selling at Amazon for $9.99? Jobs told a reporter, well, that won't be the case. When the reporter sought to clarify, you mean you won't be charging $14.99 or they won't be charging $9.99? Jobs paused and with a knowing nod responded, the price will be the same, and explained that the publishers are actually withholding their books from Amazon because they are not happy. So this, at least in the eyes of the judge, and this is a quote from the judge's ruling, at least in her eyes, the judge's eyes, there seemed to be some notion in which there was a coordination, publishers withholding their books, for example, some coordination to get this equilibrium with the higher price, which was unable to be achieved without this coordinating mechanism. Most likely Apple will appeal this case, and we don't know how it will turn out, but it's an illustration of the mechanisms and dynamics and the strategic interaction that occurs in industries like this, which have oligopolistic features, a few competitors, where the question is, were they able to cooperate or not? It's an illustration of the game theoretic aspects of this, which go right back to this kind of prisoner's dilemma, which are at the heart of the matter. Thank you.